Hey guys, it's Jeff Risdon from the Detroit Lions podcast and Lions Wire. And Chris and I are unable to do a live show this week for a variety of reasons. I'm in Minnesota. He's in a hurricane. So instead, I'm going to give you a little bit of a solo video on my thoughts on the Lions coming out of the bye. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right. We're 3-1 coming out of the bye week. I'll just get right into it. I'm actually in Minnesota this week taking care of some family business. I'm not in Minneapolis. I'm much more north than that. But I did watch the Vikings this weekend, and they are 5-0. They're in first place. The Lions are in second place in the NFC North at 3-1. You got the Bears and the Packers both at 3-2. Kind of where we expected those teams to be, but not sure that we thought that the Vikings were going to be 5-0. I certainly did not. I thought the Vikings were going to be able to score some points. I thought that their offense, even with Sam Darnold, was going to be difficult. Did not expect their defense to sustain the way that it has. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about, is the Lions' path to winning the division. It's still there. It's absolutely still there. Yeah, Minnesota's 5-0. Not worried about the Vikings. They're good. They're very good right now. We play them in 2 weeks. See what happens then. But I'm still not sold that their defense under Brian Flores, with the personnel that they have, is going to be this good, this tightly coordinated for an extended period. And I also think that, as teams start to get film on a little bit, they'll find more ways to attack it. You saw a little bit this past weekend. Didn't have the firepower to do it, but I thought that there was a plan there that at least attacked the Vikings a little bit. And there are ways. But yeah, that's gonna be a fun one for sure. Big game coming up. Before then, the Lions have Dallas. Got to admit, fell asleep about 20 minutes into the game last night. I'm recording this on Monday afternoon. Last night was Sunday Night Football. The Cowboys beat the Steelers with the rain delay at the beginning. I was dead tired. I was visiting my son in college for the weekend. Go Huskies basketball. Shout out to number 15, Go Lane. But I was just dead from the weekend. So I fell asleep, so I didn't actually see the game after about the first 2 drives. But I saw that the Cowboys won, which means that they're 3-2. That's the Lions' next opponent. Am I worried about Dallas? Nope. I admit I need to go back and watch what happened last night. But the Lions seem very well designed to take advantage of what Dallas does not do well. They don't tackle in space well. They don't cover particularly well for long periods of time, and they'll be playing without DeMarcus Lawrence for sure. It sounds like Micah Parsons, even if he plays, will be on a pitch count where he's coming in like 3rd and long, pass rush situations only. It's a big deal for them. Obviously, they beat Pittsburgh with that. Pittsburgh... Again, I didn't see the game, but I haven't watched Pittsburgh earlier this year. Radically different offense than what the Lions present. Justin Fields is their quarterback. Jared Goff and Justin Fields pretty much don't have anything in common other than the position that they play. They play it very divergently. The Lions run duo. They run some inside zone with their run blocking. They have 2 really, really good running backs, in David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, who can both win inside or outside. They can win in either style of scheme. The Steelers don't really do that or have that. Lions have pretty good wide receiver in Alpha Dog and Amon-Ra St. Brown. J-Mo is the big play guy. Sam Laporta stepped up in week 4. I thought he looked very good against Seattle, and I expect that will continue. Brock Wright looked very good in the last couple of weeks. I think that will continue. Steelers can't cover all those. I'm sorry. The Cowboys can't cover all those guys. And that's not the way that the Steelers operate their offense. And I think that coming off of a relatively short week, and I know it was Sunday Night Football, but it's still you're a little bit more tired on Monday when you get into the office after being on I know it's at home for Dallas, so that's obviously in, but I like the Lions to beat the Cowboys. That's the long and the short of it. And I haven't even looked at the lines yet. I'm actually not sure if you can bet sports in Minnesota. Don't know. I haven't bet here in several years. I think the last time I was here was 2017. So it's been a while. By the way, Duluth, Minnesota, this is my first time here. Really nice place. It's sort of the western tip of Lake Superior. And it's a nice town. It's very industrial a little bit in the downtown, but as I'm a little bit to the northeast, it's quite nice here. So I'm happy to be up here. Would rather be up here for better circumstances, but yeah, it's I really think that the Lions are going to take this game against the Cowboys, and that makes us 4-1. That brings Minnesota. They could be 6-0. They could remain undefeated. We're good. Let's bring it. These are the games that, as a Lions fan, trusting your team is important. I trust my team. I hope you do too. Now, there's certainly some questions about this team that need to get answered. Dallas will answer some of those. Coming out of the bye, we'll see. We'll see where the Lions are at. I don't expect any letdown. I expect them to come out and try to pound it on both sides of the ball. I think that the Cowboys' offensive line is a weakness. I think they can be attacked. Aiden Hutchinson should have a good game. I think Halim McNeil can have a good game. DJ Reader in the middle will be solid. Look, not going to sleep on Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. CeeDee Lamb's a really good wide receiver. They can do some things offensively that will give the Lions trouble. Give a lot of teams trouble. I don't think they can keep up with what our offense is going to do to their defense. Now, maybe that's a bold claim. I don't know. But I feel like the way that Jared Goff played and the way the entire offense, I felt like Ben Johnson and the Goffense, cringe when I say that, but I felt like against Seattle, they figured it out. Like, they figured out the balance that they needed. They figured out the right level of aggression, the right way to attack a defense that had some vulnerabilities, but also some strengths. I thought they did a great job at that. Ben Johnson just credit for that. Jared Goff, he was perfect, literally perfect. Don't know why they didn't give him the perfect passer rate. Well, actually, I do know why. That's stupid, by the way. He was perfect. Can't ask for more. It's great. He's not going to complete every pass against the Cowboys. He doesn't need to. I think the pathways are there. But in this video, I wanted to look a little bigger and broader, around the NFC a little bit. Watched the Arizona Cardinals, a team that the Lions beat fairly handily. I don't think that the score was closer than I think that the game was played. I think most of you watching this would agree with that. It never felt like the Lions were going to lose that game. They went into San Francisco and won. San Francisco's 2-3. Arizona's 2-3. Rams are 1-4. First place in the West is Seattle, folks. Seattle got beat by the Giants yesterday. Took some fluky plays for them to even get on the board. The Giants were the better football team. Don't say that very often. No offense to my Giants, folks. You all know where you're at. You're not going to the postseason this year. They beat Seattle. So the West, we can beat any team there, anywhere. Not concerned about that. The East, we get Dallas. Dallas might be the best team in that East. I do like Washington. I like what they're doing with Jaden Daniels. I like what they're doing with their defense. I think that they found a coach, and they've got a quarterback that doesn't know he's not supposed to be good, and that's a dangerous situation. So I'm not going to write them off. I think they can keep it rolling a little bit. I do think that their lack of depth is going to bite them at some point, but they look good. That's a good football team. Philadelphia can be good when they all play together and play well. They don't do that very often, but when they do, it's kind of fun to watch. See what happens with them. I'm not afraid of them. You shouldn't be either. You respect them. They're solid. They can beat the Lions if the Lions don't have their A game. Washington can too. Dallas can too. All the Giants probably could. A little bit of a stretch. They're not a good matchup for it, but I mean, saw the preseason, right? Yeah. Lions' depth wasn't great there either. So let's go to the South. Already beat Tampa Bay. They're good. Atlanta is the best team down there, and they're starting to play like it, and they're formidable. They can beat the Lions. Lions can also beat them. See about New Orleans. They're about to play in a few hours. They're playing the Chiefs tonight. I actually think that the Saints can outscore the Chiefs. I'm not sure that they will, but I think they can. Not predicting that, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Saints looked better than I think most of America thinks they do in this game. And then there's the Panthers, who couldn't do a single damn thing against the Chicago Bears. I believe it was 36-10. I want to say is the final score. Didn't catch much of that game. Was watching. Spent a lot of time actually yesterday watching the Texans beat the Bills, and that's actually I'm going to come back to that in a second. But the broader point here, the Lions are in second place in the best division in the NFC. They've already beaten a couple of teams that look like they could be in the playoffs. Look like we could see them again. We get Minnesota in a couple of weeks. I don't think there's any Lions fan out there that's afraid of Green Bay or Chicago. Again, you need to respect them. They're solid football teams. They can beat the Lions if the Lions don't play well. They absolutely can. No shame in saying that. If the Lions bring their A game, those teams aren't winning. They're not beating this Lions team. Dan Campbell is so good at understanding how to get his teams ready for those sorts of games. Look, I think we'll drop one amongst the four between Green Bay and Chicago. Maybe two. Again, it's tough to predict because, like, we all know there's going to be one Lions game this year where they're just like Baltimore last year, like Carolina a couple of years ago, where it's like, this is not the team that we know. This is not the Dan Campbell Lions we expect. There'll be one of those games. I pray to God it's not against Dallas. Really don't need that. That's stress that none of us need. But it'll happen. It's going to happen. Hopefully not in the postseason, but it's going to happen. Like, that's just the way football goes. You see weird upsets all the time, every weekend. I mean, coaches do weird things. Coaches do bad things. Tied back into the Buffalo-Houston game for a second. If you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, for those of you who complain about Dan Campbell's game management and clock management at the end of halves and end of games, go watch the end of that Buffalo-Houston game. The Bills got the ball tied at their own 5 with about 25 to 30 seconds left. They threw 3 straight incompletions, punted the ball back, didn't have a great punt coverage, gave the Houstons a chance to kick a field goal. Kaimi Fairbairn, all 27 letters of his name, nailed the 59-yard game winner. Like, the Buffalo coaches directly cost them that football game. Josh Allen was having a shit game. He wound up 9 for 30 against a Houston defense that played very, very solid, tight man defense. Didn't give him anything easy. Pressured him pretty well. Like, and that was one of the other overarching points that I wanted to talk about. We saw the Bengals mismanage the end of game situation. Zach Taylor, that's a coach that's been to a Super Bowl, believe it or not. You would not believe it after you saw what they did yesterday. Basically, playing for a long field goal in that situation, not letting your MVP candidate and Joe Burrow try to win the game. It's not just Dan Campbell, folks. This is a league-wide systematic issue. People overthink it, or they don't think enough, one or the other. I'll be honest, I don't even know which it is with Dan Campbell. I tend to think that he overthinks it, just because I think that's who he is, and watching him coach and knowing him, around the facility and everything, like, it's hard because he has not been great at the end of games. I thought the end of the first half against Seattle was awful. They got lucky, quite frankly, that Seattle missed that field goal, because it felt like they didn't know whether they wanted to try to get points or try to run the clock, and they sort of tried to do both, and they wound up doing neither. Not the first time we will criticize Dan Campbell's end of game management. Go back to San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. But the point is that every team has these problems. You think Bears fans are happy with the way that they're being run? Some of the play calls and situational football that they've gone through? The Eagles? Come on. One of the things that I hope that everybody did, and I probably should have encouraged this before the bye, was to watch other teams this weekend. Pay attention to the broader NFL. One of the things that I notice about Lions fans is that they tend to not watch as much of other teams as fans of other teams that I have covered do, between the Bengals, the Browns, the Colts, the Texans, places that I've lived, Washington, all the other cities that I've lived in and sports markets that I've lived in. The fans there tend to pay almost too much attention to what's going on else around the league. And Detroit, maybe it's the Detroit versus everybody thing. I don't know. But it feels like Detroit fans are more insulated in what they do and what they know about the league, which has its pluses and its minuses. But I think one of the minuses of it is that I think that the criticism that comes about the way that Ben Johnson calls plays, and I'm critical of him too, the way that Aaron Glenn calls his defenses, I'm critical of him too, Dan Campbell and the clock management, end of game situations, I don't think that Detroit as a whole has an appreciation that everybody complains about this. It's not just a Detroit thing. It's not a Dan Campbell thing. It's not a Ben Johnson thing. A lot of teams screw this up. Andy Reid has screwed it up. Not very often, but he does. If you watch Kyle Shanahan blow the Niners game yesterday, it's a coach that I think a lot of people would respect a lot. Got his ass out coached yesterday by Arizona's coach. Don't think anybody saw that coming. Buffalo's coach directly lost them their football game yesterday. Miami's coach has lost them their football games in the past. Hell, Houston's coach tried to lose that game. D'Amico got away with it. So that's one of the things that I want to stress as we go forward, is that every team has vulnerabilities. Every team has flaws. Yeah, there's some really good football teams out there. The Detroit Lions are one of them. I would say that they're one of the 3 or 4 best in the football in the NFL this year. They can win any game against any team anywhere. Don't forget that, because they're going to drop a game or two. That's going to be okay. Other teams are going to do it too. Minnesota's not going 17-0. Heck, last year, this time, remember the Philadelphia Eagles? I believe they went to 9-0. They were the last team to lose. They peaked early. They got spanked in the postseason. Not saying that's going to happen in Minnesota, but also not saying that that's not a possibility too. Look, they're good. I think San Francisco will still be good. I think Dallas will be formidable. The top teams in the South, whoever they might wind up being, they're not going to beat themselves. Lions are going to have to go out and beat them. But you know what? With Jared Goff, with Aiden Hutchinson as defensive MVP candidate, with the way Brian Branch has played this season, with the progress at cornerback and playing more comfortable in man defense, with the way that the run defense shuts teams down, with the run combination that this Lions offense has, you better believe this is a good Lions football team, and they can still go win the Super Bowl. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be cocky about it, because they haven't done it yet. Don't be afraid of it. It's a good football team, folks. Don't forget that. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked and subscribed so you knew when this was coming. And try to be back with you live with Chris next week, barring he and I both getting through our current situations very well. Thanks for watching.